Welcome to another episode where I share a little bit more about what is it like building a company in the Web3 space. And we talk about the experience of starting a company the last time. This time, we talk about the 10 lessons I've learned in the last 4 years something. I want to divide this into 5 sections. Number 1, people, business priorities, deliverables, decision-making, as well as first impression. The first one is people. So people is everything. In a consulting business, unlike software, unlike building a protocol, people is even more important because people forms the crux of how any of the services or any deliverables actually work, any of the business part works. So one big mistake that I've learned is, or just a general idea initially when first started, is that I don't know exactly what I need to hire for, what skill sets, what the requirements are. So that makes hiring quite hard, especially in the first 2-3 years of business. Things are quite volatile. The macro market impacts the business a lot more, and pivots are very frequent. So in that kind of situation, it's a lot tougher to figure out exactly who you want to hire, because someone that you might hire or you might want to hire in Q1 might completely shift in Q3. So that is difficult. And through that, you would definitely hire wrong people, like I've had many times. But I think this is a necessary lesson to learn. The important lesson over here is that this is a necessary lesson to learn anyway. Remember to cut your cost and don't fall into the sunk cost fallacy. Just because you hired the wrong person and a fantastic person, and the person doesn't fit into the business model right now, doesn't mean you need to keep them for another couple more years, because they are just not suitable for the kind of culture or the pivot of the company right now. And that's okay, especially in the first few years where the company is shifting, it's shaping, it's figuring out where they stand, where the foothold is in the market. So one mistake I learned with people is using cookie cutter job description. And that goes back to the main problem of not understanding what the specific requirements are, which is quite fine because in the early stage, you're figuring it out. I would say with mentors, with experience talking to other founders, you can mitigate the loss, but this is a necessary evil, a necessary lesson that you just go through, and you improve the JD, the job description, every time a mistake happens. And that's okay. So what I do now is I take the cookie cutter as a draft one and add edits, add different kind of updates and customization based on the jobs that we're hiring for. The second mistake is to hire whoever that comes in my way. And I want to believe in serendipity, where the right kind of people come in my way and I hire them. That happens good enough. At the same time, to hire there are a lot of bright people out there, but you need to hire the right people for the right job. Initially, in the first 2 years, things are a bit frequent, a bit more random, and hiring someone who can wear a lot more hats is important. As the business starts to take shape, you need to hire for very, very specific skill set. You need to know exactly what you want. So I can't hire anyone that comes my way anymore. A lot of mistakes that I made with this is that people come my way, I think that they're a good fit, and I hire them. An example would be a really good person, fantastic skill sets, exactly what we need. The only problem is they might not fit in our culture. And so what we do now, we have a 6-stage recruitment process to make sure that this person speaks to different parts of the team, different people that they work with, work under, work above, work together with, to get a sense of how they can fit in the culture, not just the technical skills, but soft skills and also cultural. The third thing, which goes back to a lot of cultural thing that I mentioned, is that initially when I first started, I didn't think that culture was so important. I don't want to hire for culture, I want to hire for skill set, because you can always learn culture, you can adapt to the right kind of corporate culture. One thing I learned is that it doesn't work this way. Culture is something you want to enforce and then get the team to really rally and get their buy-in to build the right kind of corporate culture. And it's not, if someone doesn't fit in the culture, for example, we are very asynchronous remote first culture. If someone doesn't know how to do that, someone doesn't want to change, and someone wants to always meet in person and not document anything and have all the meetings in real time synchronously, that doesn't fit in the culture that we have. They might be the brightest person with the right kind of technical skills, but because they don't fit in the culture, they don't fit in the general team, that becomes a big challenge. At the end of the day, this is a consultancy firm, not an agency, not a recruitment agent, not an agency where you outsource work and it's done by individuals. It's a consultancy firm that people come together, they work together to get an output as a team. So culture is actually absolutely important. Yes, there's the technical skills that is necessary, that becomes the baseline, and the culture is what sets the different candidates and different individuals apart. Get the right people, work together, and working as a team will be a piece of cake by then. So those are the three mistakes regarding people. Next is the mistakes regarding business priority. So one thing I've learned in the last 9 months was to realize that there is a hierarchy of business priorities. Comes in 4 stages. The first stage is you need to find product market fit, which makes a lot of sense. If you look at a lot of software companies and tech companies raising funds in the pre-seed, seed, series A, it's all about finding product market fit. Then there is a business out there. There is a demand for the service that you're providing. The second thing is then how do you optimize the operation? This is where you want to understand how do you streamline operations to get to the output in a more efficient, effective way. That's number 2, operation. So after you make this, you make money. You are more efficient in making money. And the third is figuring out identity and culture. Identity and culture is what makes people stay in the team. And that is what draws people to join the team. And that's actually absolutely important because this is one of the moat. You can think about it. 2 companies can be producing the same product, same software, but one team's culture is more aligned to the remote first, the work anywhere around the world kind of culture. You don't have to go to the office. And the other one is all about going to the office. The different people fit well in different kind of cultures. In establishing that, getting the team to rally again with this culture is important. And lastly, which is something I realize a lot of people don't do, is governance. As much as we're in the Web3 space or even if in the tech space, people don't think about corporate governance so much, but I think it's absolutely necessary because governance is synonymous with decision making. How do you build the right decisions? How do you allow people to make decisions? How do you prevent wrong decisions being made? It's all part of governance. So this comes in 4 steps. Making money, optimize making money, build a team where people enjoy working together, working with each other, and then governance to allow people to make decisions and mitigate bad actions, bad activities, or bad decisions. So this is something that I've learned, which is the hierarchy. Initially, I jumped quite into operations and culture quite quickly, defining what we want, defining what the company should look like in the next 5 to 10 years, and then hiring the right people or hiring the people that I would enjoy working with from there. The thing is, it depends on the different stage of the company. If the company has not even proven product market fit, has not even proven that there is demand for this product and service, it's going to be a big challenge trying to do everything else because without making money, this thing just becomes a hobby. It's not a business. So knowing when to prioritize, knowing when to take a step up, step down is actually really important. So I went from figuring out, realize that we need to have standardized operations, but you don't talk about optimized operations if you don't have a business. So you step back down, you get the business model right, and you optimize that, and then create a culture, and we have new business lines, new service lines, and keep going up and down the priority. All right. And so that's mistake number 4. And mistake number 5 is how does this impact people again? So the company is at different stage of growth and different priorities. Sometimes the priority is new business lines and product market. Sometimes the priority is culture. Sometimes the priority is governance. Sometimes the priority is optimization of operation, creating automation in our internal ops. So then that coincides with hiring the right kind of people because someone might be super talented, absolutely amazing, but they are in the later stage of company growth, company scaling, not in a 0 to 1 phase. So understanding where the company is helps us to understand what the priorities are, and then the skill sets that we need, who to hire, and then hire the right people. So hiring is actually a big challenge. Learned a lot from there and appreciate it. Okay, the third section is deliverables. So a couple of mistakes over here. The first mistake is failure to deliver what the client wants. We know what we provide very, very well. And because this is quite a new field, designing economics is quite a new field. It's basically designing the rules of how systems work. And I'll do a video next time explaining a little bit more about what we do. And so not everyone understands what we do. And in fact, not everyone understands what they want. And failing to align the understanding, align the expectations can cause a lot of misunderstanding a little bit down the road. So what we do right now, and this is exactly where a lot of legal contracts come in, and this is a lesson we learned to keep updating and reevaluating our legal documents with clients, because we have quite a big stack of legal documents standardized to set expectations with the clients. So this is great right now. And we also align expectations with the clients quite often. Mistake number 7, which is part of this deliverables, is misalignment with the key decision makers. typically, I would say about 85% of the time, we do directly with the founder, CEO, and the main guy, the main person. And once we align expectations, they're always in the loop, and that's a lot easier. Sometimes we work with much bigger projects, and now we work with a lot more bigger projects, especially enterprise projects. And this is where a specific unit group of the big conglomerate, big holding group, all of this big enterprise is part of. So we work directly with a group that is given directions by the top guy, but we didn't do enough alignment with the main top guy. So we do have a different way of working with big enterprises right now, where we do a lot of alignment with the main guy to make sure that we set expectations. We're aligned with expectations, not just with the team delivering, but also with the main board of directors or decision makers that need to approve of the overall project. Section 4, decision making and ownership. So the first thing is the culture that I'm building in the company, and the culture that is in the company right now, is everyone is given the liberty and freedom to make decisions. I take a lot of inspirations from fungi. Fungi is the biggest organism in the forest. And how they work is that there's this main branch of mushrooms and fungi, the mycelium, and it just grows and spread outwards. They decide to grow left, right, center, up, down, more forward. It's not dependent on the main branch deciding, but the localized mycelium or the localized mushroom community, because they know the soil conditions best, they know the sunlight conditions best, they know what is the best direction to take as this local cluster. This is the culture that we have in the company, where decisions are made at a local level, as well as we are aligned with the right objectives. So the objective of the mushroom is to survive, probably. And so where do we optimize the growth to survive as an entire organism? So this is the direction and culture that we set in the company, where people can make decisions. And what's the worst case? You make a wrong decision. That's where I come in, resolve that. We learn from mistakes and we move forward. Fine, it's part of a business. So two mistakes over there. So mistake 8 and 9. 8 is not being explicit with the expectations. So this is where the asynchronous and synchronous parts come in, because majority of us, we experience working culture as a synchronous thing. You can just reach the person beside you and set expectation. It's not just verbally with words, but they can understand your tonality, your body language, the situation, to understand that implicit expectation. And because we're in a remote first world, a lot of things are done asynchronously as well. You miss out a lot of the non-verbal cues. And typing alone, even if you add emojis, doesn't express a lot of expectations or express a lot of the content. So that is the downside of async culture, for example. The way to go about that is to make expectations explicit. And there is nothing wrong with that. A lot of people like to just, we want people to assume that they understand this is what is demanded from them. But, don't ever assume there's no benefit in that. So what we have now in our internal company bulletin, we do have a section called explicit expectations. And it's when I realized the expectation set is not explicit enough, that anyone can write explicit expectations down. For example, what does it mean to be a leader that works with X amount of team? What does it mean to do asynchronous first? How do we set expectations? We write them down with the context and how things are being done, and sometimes adding videos in there to mitigate the loss of communication channels, which is the non-verbal cues. So that's something that I've learned. Number 9 is not being clear and transparent enough when I realize the topics are not being understood. So going back to communication again, there are a lot of expectations done. There's a lot of implicit expectations with the team, because they just make decisions on their own. They decide what the structure of the contract the client would be. They decide what are the terms that we can edit out in the contract. And so they have a lot of freedom and liberty to do that. And sometimes this might be something new, something unusual, or this is just not understood well enough by the team. And not being clear and transparent enough is a big problem, because you're not communicating properly. What I do now is to add bullet points, be succinct, go to the point, short and sweet, and make sure people understand, and give a lot of opportunities for people to comment, to sync up and ask questions, to make sure that we're all on the same page. And that's okay. Good to ask questions. It's good to get clarification. It's not something to be ashamed about. We encourage a lot of questions asking in the company. And lastly, lesson 10, that first impression matters. So the mistake was that I didn't care a lot about naming our things, naming our name. And I think about everything in terms of minimum viable. What is enough to go and test out my product market fit? And so, for example, a lot of the names I use, a lot of the logos, a lot of the color scheme, the early sections of the PowerPoint slide was really not pretty. And it's fine in the first stage. We just need to iteratively get better and go back to updating the process, which is stage 2, right? This is product market fit and then operations. We need to input this into the operations that we are thinking about and make it a lot better and easier to get better with our deliverables, for example. So sometimes even just internal projects, internal team building culture role thing, I also put shitty names, just random names that it's not very pleasing to the ear and it's just minimal viable, it's just placeholder names. And this is where ChatGPT comes in very well. Just use ChatGPT to come up with more interesting names, give me better ideas. So this helps a lot for people to understand and expect what the output will be in terms of the visuals and deliverables, in terms of logos in our name, in terms of any internal project or product names, service names that we have. So that is something I've learned. And those are the 10 lessons I've learned and 10 mistakes that I have made, hence 10 lessons I've learned as a founder of Economics Design in the last 4 years. Hopefully that gives you some insights to what it's like running a company. And in the next session, I'll share a little bit more of other lessons I've learned and other journeys I've been through in the last 4 years. Till then, I'll see you next time. Bye.